As the industry progresses through a very disruptive as well as innovative era, it's all the more crucial to engineer sustainable transition strategies. To tell us more about what these strategies should be, we have with us Mr. Rajendra Petkar, President and CTO Tata Motors, as well as an industry veteran. Mr. Petkar, thanks for spending your time. You said it's going to be a multi-step, multi-year journey and multi-fuel as well. So if we have to kind of look at the first set of steps or the first set of new fuel technologies, what would they be?
So thank you, Sumantra, for having me here. I want to tell you that the global automotive industry is actually going through the two of the biggest transitions. Number one, the transition which is led by the decarbonization, and the second one which is led by the vehicle softwarization. Your question is particularly for the decarbonization with the various fuel options that we have. It's going to be multi-step, multi-year, as you rightly understood. Today, the diesel and the gasoline are the mainstream fuels. So this is, let's say, on the far left side, which is what is the current state. If you look at what is going to be the destination strategy, it is all going to be battery electric vehicle and the hydrogen powered vehicles, be it through the hydrogen fuel cell or through the hydrogen ICE engine. Now between these two extremes, then you have the fuel blends, whether it is through the ethanol or the blend with the diesel, ethanol in the gasoline, ethanol in the diesel, methanol in the diesel, and bio CNG. And next in the pecking order is going to be the alternate fuel vehicles, the vehicles which are powered by the CNG and the LNG. So the task is very much cut out. I don't think that there is such a great confusion as to what is the fuel scenario. I think we are onto this multi-year journey where the every of the fuel is going to have a role to play depending on the category of the vehicle and the application to which these vehicles are going to serve.
Right. And also there is also some players also are dabbling with ammonia. Is that another option you see as a viable one?
Yeah, so ammonia is being talked about basically as a sort of a hydrogen carrier. Ammonia is nothing but the NH3. So for the sake of a convenience of a transport of a hydrogen, which otherwise would have a limitation in terms of the bulk transport, whether it is through the tube trailer or through the cascade, there is going to be a limitation. That means point of generation of a hydrogen, let's say with the massive electrolyzers located at one place, versus where the point of use is going to be, let's say the vehicles which actually are going to be all over the place, then the ammonia acts as a sort of a energy carrier, and then one can use the ammonia back to convert to hydrogen for a usage actually on board that you can use it. That's one way to look at the ammonia. The second way to look at it also would be through the usage directly in the IC engines. So ammonia engines, people are working, but I don't think that there is a degree of a maturity which is there so far today.
Are we also working on those lines?
We are not at the moment, because the whole understanding related to the ammonia and the cost economics are absolutely unclear at this point of time.
Right. And also, I mean, as a technologist, as a technocrat, what are the 2-3 things which are really top of mind, and perhaps to the extent that positively so doesn't give you a sleepless night maybe?
No, I would say that see, this whole journey towards whether it is zero emission technologies like towards the decarbonization or the circularity, or this great migration through the vehicle softwarization, ultimately what is in it for the customer, right? The customer is going to be king, and unless we are able to provide a value proposition to the customer, that means he is looking for, let's say, the better total cost of ownership. He or she is going to look for the better acquisition cost. They are looking at let's say the trouble-free vehicle operation, reliability, zero breakdown. So in this entire journey to the product sophistication, I think the customer is the key here, and I think everything what we do or need to do is to keep the customer at the center and make sure that this is ultimately affordable, this transition, and that's what actually keeps us on our toes. Let me not say that it's sleepless nights, but
But keeps you on your
it keeps
toes.
us on our toes, and from that point of view, therefore, it becomes quite exciting.
Right. And also one is that, no, I mean, you're moving from maybe, if I talk about this CV industry side, one fuel on maybe a passenger vehicle, two or maybe three fuel, to a multi-fuel path. But having said that, there is not, OEMs do not have infinite resources, financial resources. You have to plan accordingly. So, and also at the same time, you have to build a new capabilities in terms of, let's say, OEMs need not have software engineers earlier. Now there is a necessity. So in all these, how are you balancing in terms of investments, building teams, and just talking about software? Has Tata Motors also built a dedicated software engineering team?
So let me take the second question first, which is about the software capability. See, this industry has been on the journey of the product electronification almost for over 2 decades.
Mm.
So there is a degree of, let me say, the capability which is already residing within the traditional OEMs, and the pace at which the electronification is happening, it is continuously growing. So to start with, maybe more than 2 decades back, it was only, let's say, the engine, which was electronically controlled.
So you have put a few ECUs.
Yeah,
and
so you had the limited sensors, limited actuators, one or two controllers. But now, as you look at today's vehicle profile, be it a commercial vehicle or passenger car, it's a multi-ECU, multi-controllers, lots many algorithms, and all of them need to actually be talking to each other.
And the architecture is also changing from
Architecture
distributed to zonal to now
Yes.
centralized, right?
So this only would mean that there has to be enough capability and the skill set which needs to be developed. Now there are two choices: either you do it as within the organization, then you recruit the hundreds and thousands of engineers and do it, or actually you collaborate and work with the guys who are already there in the system, who are able to work faster. They have been into this business of development of agile software capabilities, and therefore I would rather say that it's a good blend to be achieved by each company.
What's the approach
between
you are
the
taking?
between let's say the developing the capability fully in-house versus the collaboration. As far as Tata Motor is concerned, we are basically looking at to collaborate, to partner, and ultimately what is of essence is the agility and the faster time to market, and that can only be achieved with this great ecosystem of the ecosystem partners which has been there in the country. And India is best known for the software industry and the software skill set. So in Tata Motors, we are actually leveraging the partnership. We have some of the group companies with whom we work very closely in the area of the software defined vehicles, and that journey will continue that way. But having said that, the core team in Tata Motor would anyway be responsible for the complete program management, the program execution, what is to be delivered from the end customer point of view. So requirement gathering, all of that would be the part of the team which is residing within the Tata Motors.
And on top, and the other part of the question of allocating resources, human resources as well as financial resources, and picking the winning horses, if I may call it, on how do you go about it?
So actually, that's where the customer comes into the picture here, and the customer actually tells you that that where we should be working on. For example, from the customer point of view, and if I take the example of a commercial vehicle here, it is the total cost of ownership. So if the CNG makes sense over diesel, of course he will buy a CNG vehicle, right? And nowadays it's fairly very, very clear, easy to calculate complete life cycle cost what the customer is going to incur. So the choices would be dictated by the customer. And while we keep saying it's a multi-fuel regime, but not that every fuel for every vehicle, right?
Yes.
So what works for the heavy commercial vehicle will not work for the very small commercial vehicle, right? So a judicious choice is to be made depending on what's the vehicle, what's the, let's say, the duty cycle, what's the end application, and what is that you are going to give a value to the end customer. So customer will decide, and then you will have to align in line with the customer's priorities.
Talking about multi-fuel, we had this a conversation on this some months ago also, LNG.
Yeah.
Whether LNG is going to be next LNG. And we see that if you look at, it seems that there is traction being gained by this fuel technology. with one of the European truck makers recently, launching their LNG trucks. So, what is the what do you see now? It's like gaining pace at a more faster rate.
I must say that from Tata Motors side, we have been waiting for LNG story to get unfolded, because we have been the first one in the country to have showcase LNG trucks and the LNG powered buses in Auto Expo. And
that was quite a few years ago, right?
That was quite a few years ago, and I think if I remember correctly, 2014, we showed the our 55-ton tractor with the LNG. I think 2016 we showcased the LNG buses. By the way, we supplied on the commercial basis few buses to Kerala, and those buses are still running. So, but we have been waiting really for large scale adoption and this virtuous cycle of demand versus supply. So, from our point of view, we are ready with the technology. We recently have also supplied the tractors and also the tippers to one of our group companies on the commercial basis, and we would of course increase the volume share there on the LNG. So the technology per se is not new. I think where there is a issue is about the availability of the LNG infrastructure, and at the moment it is still, I would say, a chicken and egg situation. While we are ready with the technology, but then you need a technology at an affordable cost, which means that there has to be localization of the key high cost components, which is like, let's say, the LNG tank, which is a cryogenic tank, and engine on one side and the fuel system on the vehicle, of which the cryogenic tank is a big part. So all of this need to actually fall in line, and having few vehicles doesn't give that kind of a confidence in the market.
And lastly, with Tata Motors, with this whole reorganization, the demerger, just draw a picture for us under technology part. Will there be a common kind of organization and maybe dedicated teams below that, or how is it going to be?
No, I think it has been very clearly stated that the purpose of a demerger is to create two different businesses which will be running them on their own because of the kind of the market focus that it's going to require, and we are in the process now to look at how to create two organizations. So I think more on this maybe we can share with you after a few months. Right now we are just in the process.
Thank you. On that note, Mr. Petkar, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.